In order to better understand man's values, his ethics, morality, those laws we value, those differences in the values, and of course, clearly there are differences in values. Man has differences in the way they view law, the way they view ethics and morality. Some people believe that adultery is good. Christians, on the other hand, believe adultery is evil. Some people believe that homosexuality is a good and valuable lifestyle. Biblical Christians, on the other hand, believe that it's not a valuable lifestyle. In fact, it's evil and not good and not valuable. So Christians would value a heterosexual lifestyle of a man and woman. Those are differences in values, and those are not the only difference in values. Mankind argues continually over types of governments that we have, types of rules, types of laws. We argue over those things. And to have a better understanding of our view of ethics and our values, it's best to understand those fundamental questions that man is always asking, because those questions are foundational for understanding what we do and what we value. We started talking about those questions last quarter, and as we begin our 302 course this quarter, let's just review right quickly to give in context these three questions. Two of them we talked about last quarter, but let's do a review right quickly on those questions. The first question that we dealt with last quarter was the metaphysical question. That is one very fundamental question in man's search for truth. It's called the metaphysical, the ontological question. Last quarter we offered four possibilities to that question. Now there's lots of isms and schisms in the world, but they can all be reduced to four basic ideas. Number one, some people believe, Christians believe, that the source of everything, the cause of everything, that thing that's beyond physics and created everything, was monotheism or theism, a personal God. That's the biblical view. If you reject the biblical view, you have the other three choices: monism, pluralism, or dualism. We studied those last quarter. Monism is the belief that all is one. Materialists believe that everything came from matter. Some believe water, others believe fire. Different beliefs there, but they believe there's one substance. Pluralism believes that everything comes from a plurality or even an infinite number of, as Democritus said, atoms that are not measurable and not sensible. You can't sense them, but they're there, and there's an infinite number of those falling in space in a straight line. Those are all, that's the pluralistic view. Dualism believes all is two, that there's two ultimate forces, good, evil, light, darkness, and that battle between good and evil is the source of everything. So those are the fundamental question of metaphysics. The second question we dealt with was the epistemological question. Three possibilities there to the epistemological question, and that epistemological question is, how do you know? In other words, the metaphysical question is, what is real? What is ultimate? The epistemological question is, how do you know? For instance, if you're a monist and you believe water is all there is, then if you believe the ultimate cause of everything is water, then the next question somebody would ask is, well, how do you know it's water? That's the epistemological question. Same thing goes for if you answer the metaphysical question of what caused everything, and you say that there's a personal God who created everything, then the next question you would ask philosophically would be, how do you know that a personal God created everything? Now, there are three options there: testimony, empiricism, and rationalism. Testimony, in the epistemological approach, testimony says that there's a witness that told me. Now, that's what we as Christians believe. We actually believe that there is a God, a personal God, a sovereign God, who gave us his witness. And therefore, that's how we know that he created the heavens and the earth. Now, if you reject testimony, then the other option you have is empiricism. That's called sense knowledge. That's science. Using my senses, induction, uh, observation, with my touching, smelling, tasting, and hearing. It's the scientific method. Uh, so that's the other approach we talked about. There's a third approach to epistemology, though. It's called rationalism. Rationalism says I don't use my senses, I use my intuition. I intuitionally know that there are basic axioms that can't be questioned. So those are the three approaches to epistemology. We studied those last quarter. Now, based on those two questions, the metaphysical question, what is reality, what is ultimate, the epistemological question, how do you know, then comes the third question, and that's what we're going to be dealing with this quarter, the axiological question. Axiology asks the question, what is holy? What is valuable? Axio comes from a Greek word hagios, which means holy, and then the word logos, which means the study of the holy. So the axiological question asks, what is valuable? What do we value? What is holy? What is good? There are various branches in the study of axiology. This quarter, if you look at the blocks, the yellow blocks on top there, this quarter we're going to be studying ethics and morality. What things do we see as moral and what do we view as immoral? What is ethically good? What is law, ethics, morality? Another field in axiology is aesthetics. It's art. Why do we view some art as beautiful and some art as not beautiful? Why do we view some kinds of music as pleasing and valuable, and why do we devalue other types of music? Of course, people disagree. Some people like certain kinds of music. Other people dislike that kind of music. The question will be, why do these people dislike this certain kind of music? It's the question of aesthetics. Another field in axiology is the philosophy of religion. Clearly, people value different religions. These are value decisions. What do we value in religion? Education is another value decision. In other words, different schools choose different curriculum, have different goals, have different objectives. For instance, Fruitland Baptist Bible College has the objective of teaching Christian leaders for the 21st century. So we have a curriculum based off of teaching biblical servants, leaders. Our curriculum is based on that, so we have a value and we have a certain objective and a certain goal, and we select our curriculum based on those goals. So we value a curriculum. A person who's in a medical school doesn't value the same curriculum we do. Or a person who's in a Hindu school doesn't value the same curriculum. See, there's value difference. So education is a value decision. We also study anthropology. The fields inside anthropology are psychology and sociology. And what kind of society do we value? What makes men socialize? What kind of psychology? Who are we? What are we? What do we value about humanity? Those are issues in anthropology and personhood. We'll talk about these things as we go through this quarter. Clearly, what we want to realize is what you believe about ultimate reality and what you believe about knowledge, metaphysics, and epistemology will affect your axiological values. So if you look at the caption here on this frame, if you believe in monotheism and a biblical personal God, and you believe that the Bible is God's testimony or witness, that will affect your axiology. It will affect your values. Conversely speaking, if you actually opt for monism, pluralism, or dualism, and you have an empirical epistemology, that will affect you and your value decisions. The same thing goes for rationalism. You can be a monist, a pluralist, or a dualist and hold to a rational epistemology, and you'll have a certain value system. We're going to be studying these effects on values as we go through this quarter. Conversely, if you hold to theism, as your view of metaphysics, your view of ultimate reality, and your epistemology is testimony, you're not going to throw out empiricism or rationalism. You just base it on the Word of God. On the other hand, if you believe in monism, pluralism, and dualism as your metaphysical view of reality, ultimate reality, and you hold to empiricism, that's going to end in irrational skepticism and agnosticism. We talked about that last quarter, empiricism. Once you use your senses, eventually you run out of matter and you say you can't know. So the results of an empirical epistemology is irrationalism or skepticism. The same thing goes with rationalism. If your view of reality is monism, pluralism, or dualism, you've rejected theism, and you hold rationalism as your epistemology, then you're going to start with your intuition and end with irrationalism. And if you remember last quarter, we talked about mathematics and how that ends with the irrational number and the zero, and you can't know. So see, once you throw testimony out and you end with rationalism and pluralism, rationalism and empiricism, you will end with the irrational.